The Triassic was a critical time in vertebrate evolution. It is regarded as the birth of modern ecosystems, as successful living groups such as mammals, turtles, and archosaurs arose in the aftermath of the devastating Permo-Triassic extinction, which killed off many primitive reptile and amphibian groups. The list of vertebrates that arose during the Triassic is staggering: dinosaurs, crocodilomorphs, pterosaurs, mammals, turtles, ichthyosaurs, and frogs. The Triassic, which stretched from 250 to 200 million years ago, was a time of transition. Archaic groups that had dominated Permian ecosystems, such as many mammal-like reptiles, had faded into extinction, and the arid, Triassic Pangaea was the perfect breeding ground for entirely new groups of vertebrates, many of which remain successful today. The Permo-Triassic extinction was the greatest catastrophe in Earth's history. Up to 95% of all species became extinct after volcanic eruptions poisoned the atmosphere. Among the departed were several groups of terrestrial, land-living, vertebrates, most notably many synapsids, mammal-like reptiles, insect-eating reptiles, and fish-eating amphibians. In the aftermath, many of the world's ecosystems were barren. The evolutionary clock had been reset and new groups had the opportunity to evolve, expand, and dominate. Within the first few million years of the extinction, ecosystems remained in disarray and a few vertebrates spread across the globe. These so-called disaster taxa, such as Lystrosaurus, were well equipped to withstand a toxic world because they were ecological generalists that could withstand a variety of climates. However, as the atmosphere returned to normal, ecosystems stabilized and major groups like the dinosaurs appeared. The archosaurs, or ruling reptiles, include living birds and crocodilians, along with a range of extinct groups restricted to the Mesozoic, such as the dinosaurs. Archosaurs originated approximately 245 million years ago and quickly spread across the globe, diversifying into an array of different species, which generally can be divided into two groups based on the anatomy of the ankle. The bird-like archosaurs, which include dinosaurs, have a straight hinge joint between the ankle bones and the foot, a metatarsal ankle, which allows for rapid locomotion. However, the crocodile-line archosaurs have a ball and socket joint between the astragalus and calcaneum bones of the ankle, a crurotarsal ankle. This joint allows the two bones to rotate against each other, which offered a degree of maneuverability but prevented most crocodile-line archosaurs from attaining high speed. Dinosaurs are the most familiar of the extinct archosaur groups and are closely related to the flying pterosaurs. The earliest known dinosaurs appeared at the beginning of the late Triassic, approximately 230 million years ago. Dinosaurs quickly diversified into an array of different body forms, but it took them much longer to multiply into a large number of species and to become exceptionally abundant in individual ecosystems. The most primitive dinosaurs, such as Herrerasaurus and Eoraptor, were sleek, bipedal predators boasting ischium, an arsenal of serrated teeth and sharp claws. From these small carnivorous ancestors, dinosaurs proceeded to divide into two major groups, the Saurischians and the Ornithischians. The Saurischians, which include the predatory theropods and the long-necked sauropodomorphs, possess a lizard hip, in which the pubis bone points forwards. The Ornithischians, or bird-hip dinosaurs, have a modified pelvis in which the pubis points backward, as in living birds. However, in one of the greatest ironies in paleontology, modern birds evolved from theropod dinosaurs. Canastropheus must rank among the most bizarre reptiles of all time, instantly recognizable by its outsized, noodle-like neck that was longer than its body and tail combined. This extraordinary neck was more than 934 feet, 3 meters, long, about twice the height of an average man, yet Canastropheus possessed only 10 greatly elongated cervical vertebrae to support it. A semi-aquatic animal that fed primarily on fish, Canastropheus could capture fish in the murky waters of the seashore by rapidly extending its neck. This strategy allowed it to take fish while its body remained completely still, in some cases while it stood on dry land. Following the Permo-Triassic mass extinction, entirely new groups of organisms emerged. One of these was Proterosuchus, a Komodo dragon-sized predator that is a distant cousin of the archosaurs, the large group that contains birds, crocodiles, and dinosaurs. The skull of Proterosuchus was long and narrow, with enlarged eye sockets and numerous small, curved teeth. The body was also long and thin, with a flexible, tapering tail. It is likely that Proterosuchus alternated between living on land and in the water, giving it unparalleled access to a range of prey. Although quite small even by today's standards, Proterosuchus was among the largest carnivores of its day.
Proterosuchus is one of the best known and most studied members of the Rhoasuchians, a large group of Triassic archosaurs. Like the Ornithosuchians, to which Ornithosuchus belongs, This group is part of the same lineage as modern crocodiles and included some of the largest predators of the day. Postosuchus grew to about 15 feet, 4.6 meters, in length and may have weighed as much as 1,500 pounds, 680 kilograms. In many ways it resembles the large theropod dinosaurs of the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, which is why it was first described as a primitive ancestor of Tyrannosaurus rex. Indeed, the large skull and banana-shaped cutting teeth do resemble those of the more well-known carnivorous dinosaurs. However, its ankle anatomy and the presence of bony plates, osteoderms, down the back strongly support placing Postosuchus among the crocodile line of archosaurs. Although Postosuchus is not a true dinosaur, it did live alongside some of the oldest theropod dinosaurs, which it probably also ate. Perhaps unexpectedly, it was much larger than these early theropods and was clearly the main predator in North America during the late Triassic.
One of the weirdest looking creatures of the late Triassic world was Ephygia. This archosaur was a sleek, fast-running omnivore. It lived alongside early dinosaurs such as Chindosaurus, as well as large rauisuchian predators. Ephygia greatly resembles a theropod dinosaur in its overall body plan. It was bipedal, meaning it could walk on two legs, had large attachment sites on its pelvis for strong leg muscles, possessed a long tail for balance, and had holes in its neck vertebrae for air sacs. In fact, when its close cousin Shuvosaurus was discovered in 1994, it was described as a late Triassic ostrich dinosaur, due to its bird-like, toothless skull. Ephygia has a similar skull, capped with a beak at its front, which was perfect for cracking seeds, grinding nuts, and possibly shearing vegetation and killing small vertebrates. However, despite their resemblances to theropods, Ephygia and Shuvosaurus are clearly members of the crocodile line because they have a crocodilian ankle as well as many other crocodilian features. This is a prime example of convergence, distantly related organisms independently evolving the same body shape in response to a similar shared lifestyle. Dicynodonts, reptile-like cousins of mammals, were some of the most successful herbivores of the late Permian to Middle Triassic periods. One of the last surviving members of this once great group was Placerius. Resembling an ancient hippopotamus, Placerius reached weights of as much as 4,400 pounds, 2,000 kilograms. It lived approximately 220 million years ago in southwestern USA and was the largest herbivore in the region. Although it lived alongside early carnivorous dinosaurs, Placerius was such a successful plant eater that it was much more abundant than rival herbivores. Its skull was ornamented with two enormous tusks that were probably used for social display. Fossil discoveries suggest Placerius traveled in large herds. Thrinaxodon, a cat-sized predator, was the most common cynodon of the early Triassic. Like mammals, it had a distinct waist in front of its hips. In addition, its broad ribs interlocked with each other, stiffening its body and making it difficult to breathe via rib movement alone. This suggests that Thrinaxodon used a diaphragm to breathe, a more efficient method, and points to an evolving mammal-like metabolism and similar activity levels. Thrinaxodon's limbs were held almost under its body, as in mammals, and this further supports the suggestion that Thrinaxodon was an active animal, capable of running. The prosauropod Plateosaurus is one of the best understood dinosaurs. Most dinosaurs are known from only a few scraps of bone, or at most, a single skeleton, but Plateosaurus is represented by more than 50 complete skeletons. Most of these have come from the late Triassic basins of Germany, which were deposited 220 million years ago by a series of large rivers. Other specimens have turned up in the glacier-covered rocks of Greenland, and even in drill cores from the bottom of the North Sea. These specimens have allowed scientists to study this dinosaur in remarkable detail. Plateosaurus was one of the largest prosauropods, and some individuals were 33 feet, 10 meters, long and weighed 1,540 pounds, 700 kilograms. Its long mouth was crammed full of leaf-shaped teeth, and these were covered in rough bumps, denticles, that were perfect for grinding vegetation. It is likely that Plateosaurus could walk on either 2 or 4 legs, although recent research suggests that this animal's arms and hands were not very suitable for locomotion and instead were used mainly for collecting food. Its name means flat lizard. During an expedition to Argentina in the late 1980s, a scientist named Paul Sereno and his team came across a curious fossil. No larger than a small human child, this skeleton was clearly a dinosaur, with an open hip socket, an enlarged muscle attachment on the upper arm bone, humerus, and other characteristic features. In many ways it resembled a carnivorous theropod because of its sharp teeth, killer claws, and the ability to walk on two hind legs, bipedal gait. Sereno and his colleagues named this dinosaur Eoraptor, one of the most primitive dinosaurs ever found. It lived about 228 million years ago.